Hello, everybody. Let's see if we're live here, guys. If anyone is on already, if you could just give me a little notification, make sure that the audio, the picture sounds all right. It's just always good to have that reassurance here as I go. Give me a thumbs up or something like that, because I don't like to keep the headphones in my ears. All right, I think I'm good to go here, guys. Let's see. I'm going to keep the questions up here. I got a better system here. I can see your questions as I'm here. Guys, just going to wait a little bit for some more people to come in. Hello from Vancouver. Oh, man, I wish I was in Vancouver right now. It's so hot here. I'm sure it's like just getting nice and cool there. Crisp autumn weather. Oh, I am jealous of you. I am in hot weather in Hanoi every year. I think it's going to become, I don't know why I've lived here for almost 15 years. I always think it's going to like cool down in the fall. It doesn't. Not till like October does it finally start to cool down. I can actually go ride my bike outdoors at a non-ungodly hour. So guys, today I am going to talk about 5 photos. This is that series where I bring up 5 photos from my archive, all related to different stories. I kind of break them down, give you a little backstory, and you guys can ask me questions about the images along the way. The images I'm going to talk about today are from a personal project that has also been published in National Geographic. And I also realized like I'm pretty crappy at doing my titles and thumbnails. I probably should have said to like non-subscribers or new people out there that this is like images that were published in National Geographic. That would be more appealing than just talking about 5 random photos. But I'm getting better at that. I never want to like tease stuff, but I think sometimes I'm like, I don't want to name drop, but I should name drop because I have been published and I did work hard to get them in here. So a couple things, housekeeping, a couple things in the news and a couple things coming up here. The Hasselblad X2D was just released. That was really exciting news and kind of a bummer at the same time. For any of you guys that don't follow Hasselblad, I've been using the original X system like since it came out, and I'm one of like probably the first users like to use it professionally. And man, I used that camera for like 6 years, all sorts of different assignments, mostly commercial work. But the reason I bring it up is also because a lot of the images you see today were shot with that. I'm going to do mostly my below images for this series, but a lot of them were shot with a Hasselblad. That system had a lot of little quirks in it, very buggy system, but the files and the color palette on that camera are just absolutely amazing. And I waited a long time. They came out with the Hasselblad X1D Mark II, and I was like, it wasn't that exciting. The focus still sucks, still buggy. And then now, years later, the 100 megapixel X2D is here, and it's honestly like months after I sold my original X1D. Now, I wouldn't want that X1D much anymore, but I would love to have it as a backup camera if I stayed with that system. Hello from New York. Hello from, where else we got people? Give a shout out where you're from. I'd love to hear that. I'm having my morning coffee here, guys. You guys are in the US or Canada. You're having your evening cocktail or your tea? I don't know. And by the way, big news today. Rest in peace to Queen Elizabeth. Sad news today coming out of England. I should be drinking tea. Not very respectful of me, but sad news anyway, but lived a long, prosperous life. So that's the news about, I'm not going to do like daily news about what's happening in the normal news, but photo news. So the Hasselblad X2D came out. I did a live stream about it. I just started working on a video now. I filmed it already where I'm going to give my breakdown about who that X2D 100 megapixel $8,200 camera is for and why, who it's not for, what I think about it, whether I will buy that or not. I've got some cool episodes coming out. One this week that maybe I'll lose some subscribers because of one this week. I give one this week under 10 minutes about really harsh advice about what's holding back photographers, amateurs, and pros. And essentially, I'll save you watching it. It's really all about hard work and grit. And I'm kind of serious in that episode. I don't know what got me so serious that day, but I'm very serious in that episode. But I think it's like, I just want to motivate people out there because I always get people like my students that are like playing the blame game, or friends that are playing the blame game because their career's not doing well in photography, and they're always blaming it on the gear, blaming it on this, blaming it on that, the other thing. And you know, I'm just kind of sick of it. You know, I'm not sick of it. I feel for them, but I'm sick of that being an excuse. The excuse really is I know them and I know they don't work hard enough, and that's it. And I kind of tell you how, and I kind of tell you why, and I kind of try to kick you in the butt a little bit. So that's that episode. Hello, Sue from southern Minnesota. Man, I am jealous from all you guys with that cooler weather. All right, so let's get into it today. That's it for photo news. If you guys have anything you want to bring up, I'm happy to talk about that. A bunch of new iPhone stuff, but that's not what I do. But the iPhone, actually, new iPhone is kind of interesting from a photography perspective. As like a pure BTS camera, it's kind of very interesting now for like video and stills for my businesses and for my YouTube channel. So it's kind of interesting, that 14 Pro. Anyway, here to talk about photos today. I'm going to bring up some of these images here. I'm going to go small. Images are going to go big. Let's make sure that that's working well. My second monitor is kind of crap today, so we're going to bring that up here. You're going to see that. Hopefully that will show properly. Yeah, okay, that should work well. So I've got this in presentation mode, hopefully. My second monitor's not working. Let me know if you can see the images nice and big here. Yes, you can. I can see them here on my, let's see, I can see them here. Okay, so these images I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to pick 5. I'm going to go through them. All of these images, except the aerial shots, were all shot with that original. This is like my homage to the Hasselblad. All shot with that original Hasselblad X1D, which is a mirrorless medium format digital camera. 50 megapixels medium format sensor. If you ever take a look at a medium format digital sensor, it's like, whoa, it's a wow. It's kind of a cool moment I would do to clients, like a wow moment, like check this camera out. Because I never knew what Hasselblad was. I'm like, no, these cameras are amazing. And I show them the sensor and it's like that. I'm like, oh, okay, wow. So the quality on these files is absolutely amazing, and I chose it with purpose. I think it's overkill for like 99% of people out there, but I wanted to print these images big, and that's why I chose that camera for this project specifically. I bought it for my commercial work. So today, all of these images are coming from my personal project, As Above, So Below. All of these images were, not all of them, but a series of these images have been published in National Geographic, but this was a self-funded and a self-generated personal project. I've always had this idea throughout my entire career that I've wanted to photograph purely the beauty of Vietnam. When I first moved here, that's what I was kind of not allowed to do, but that's what I allowed myself to do. I kind of wandered around wherever I went, and I just looked for interesting photos, street photography, travel photography, portraits, and things like that. And then over the course of the next decade, I started working for the New York Times, and I started getting assignments. And while many of those travel assignments were about the beauty of Vietnam and many other stories about all sorts of different things, I was never able to really turn my camera where I wanted to turn it, and I spent, 10 years like throughout the country, north to south, amongst other countries as well, but I've lived here, and this is the place that's most special to me. And I always had to do someone else's story. I mean, it was always an editor or magazine story or a writer's story, and I always had to go shoot it, and I had to shoot it their way. I mean, I could take my pictures, but I always had to shoot it within their parameters, meaning, okay, go to Central Vietnam, do this story, you've got 2 days, and get X, Y, and Z. And, I missed that freedom as a photographer to just kind of go out and shoot what I love. That's why I fell in love with photography. I think that's why a lot of people get turned off about becoming a pro, because once you start getting busy, it's not that anymore, really. You have to go shoot other people's stories and other people's rules and within their timeline and on a deadline. So, I always kind of was like, what would it be like to like pay tribute to this country that's welcomed me in? I've had my ups and downs with Vietnam through the years, but honestly, this country has given me a life here. It's given me my wife here. I rhymed that. I don't know if there's anything else with an IFE that I can rhyme here, but it's given me my life. It's given me my wife. It's given me my home. It's given me my livelihood here, and I always wanted to like kind of pay tribute to that. So this is an ongoing project that, self-admittedly, I have stalled the last maybe few years due to COVID, but now that we're back out of COVID, my focus has been mainly on my Kindred Guardians project. But anyway, it's a project that's dear to me. The idea, the concept behind this project is something that came to me over some deep thought. I'm always trying to put a lot of thought into my personal projects, how I can challenge myself, what I want to learn, what I'm passionate about, and then kind of see where it goes. I don't think about personal projects, what's the outcome, what's marketable, and that kind of stuff. I just think like, what am I interested in? And at the time, and still am, was interested in exploring more aerial photography, doing more drone photography. And I was also just kind of exploring, looking for the beauty and looking to connect the above and below. So this is a series of diptychs. So every single shot I'm going to show you will be a below shot with a Hasselblad, but each below shot has a corresponding above. So all of these are going to work as a series. And in the end, I hope one day to make this maybe into a book, but my Kindred Guardians project is a priority. But I hope to make this into an exhibition at the very least, and a very interesting exhibition because, again, I shot it with that medium format camera. I really want to be able to like blow these up really big. So the idea would be that all these images would be laid out. I shouldn't put this idea, no one steal this idea, because I think it's kind of a pretty fucking cool idea. Because whenever I say it, people are like, oh, that's awesome. I want to put these images on the ground under plexiglass, and so you could walk over Vietnam and see it from above, the way that the drone sees it, and then have all the corresponding below pictures have the above right there. So you have the drone shot below you on the ground that you walk over, and then the shot from the ground that matches there. So this is purely dedicated. The only rules I have is every above has a below. It doesn't have to be an obvious connection. Sometimes there is. Sometimes the above shot is like a pretty obvious connection with a T field, and then there's maybe a T former. And then I also have ways that I want to connect texture and connect themes and really just explore. Everything revolves around the beauty of this country because Vietnam is so diverse from north to south in their landscape, their people, and their agriculture, kind of everything. So I really want to explore that. I shoot this with I can operate a drone myself. I wouldn't say I'm awesome I'm not awesome at filming with the drone. I can shoot with a drone and fly a drone. But Vietnam's kind of complicated, and so I don't get in trouble. I have like one of the best drone pilots ever that I work with, although it's like skills for this are really like kind of wasted. I just have to have them put them in position. But Vietnam's complicated for foreigners to fly a drone here. Yes, you can do it in certain areas, but I do live here. I do run a business here. I've had some run-ins in the past, so I'd rather not get in any trouble. So I work with a drone pilot, and I just basically direct him where the shots are. And the way I work with this project is we go to a different province, a different area that I want to explore. Again, I'm going from north to south. I think we've done four areas so far, and I want to do as many as possible. Not every single province, that would be too much, but as much as I can from north to south. We spend a few days there, and I look for above shots first, and then I try to make the connections below. So we send the drone up in areas that we've strategically planned, but sometimes it's very whimsical. Sometimes we drive around and be like, what would that look like from above? What would that look like? So that's sort of the parameters of the project. That's the idea of the project. I really should drink my coffee like an hour before, but it's, I start with you guys at 7 a.m. my time, so I'm getting up at 6:15. So, I like to have my coffee during this, so sorry if I'm sipping while I'm doing this. So some of these images were also featured on the Hasselblad website as well, so I've got quite a lot of press for this in a good way, but I also kind of feel a little bit guilty because I've stalled, so this is like a little bit selfish. This is me showing you guys these images to self-motivate myself to get back out there. I think Hasselblad should give me that X2D 100 megapixel camera to go explore this, and then maybe, because they're owned by DJI, which, come on, what a perfect project for someone to explore. I've got their drone, I've got their above camera and their below camera. If you're watching this DJI, I always say DJI. And by the way, we do work. My business actually does work with DJI. We do editing for them, and we're going to fly some drone stuff for them pretty recently, and we're actually doing something in trade for them coming up. They're a great company to work with. We love working with them. But yeah, maybe they want to be part of this project. So the first image here I'm going to show you here, this was probably the image that I'm using right now as it's my poster image for this project. It's the one that's got the most prestige. This is in Mok Cho. It's a couple hours outside of Hanoi. Again, I'm revisiting a lot of these places that I've shot for fun or I've shot on assignment, but I'm doing them now with my new parameters, which is find the beauty, explore the beauty, and slow down and get shots that you're really interested in and invest in that. So each time I go for a travel story, I might shoot like hundreds of shots throughout the day, and I've got all these different things I need to shoot in this checklist, and I'm bouncing around from place to place, and yeah, I try to get up for good light, but that's only a couple hours a day, the beginning of the day, the end of the day, and so I can never really go back and revisit and really spend the time on shots that I need, so that's the idea of this project too. It's allowing me to slow down. I know it's not allowing me to slow down when I talk. By the way, that's like the biggest feedback I get in my channels, that I talk too fast, so I'm really trying to slow down. I know my subscribers are probably used to it, but I get people like, can you slow down? So if that's a problem, you guys let me know, because I'd love to hear it. It's good to remind me. I don't slow down out of nervousness. I don't speed up out of nervousness. I speed up out of excitement. I just get excited. I don't know. I'm like a little kid, 44 years old, and I still like, I get really excited. Anyway, so this image here was shot in Mok Cho. It's a tea growing area in Vietnam. I've been there before with some friends. We did like sort of a little photo group tour there a long time ago. I always wanted to go back and shoot it how I wanted. And I really wanted this like moody, misty shot. And they have these great, it's like endless rows of tea fields, and we spent the morning there. We're up at sunrise. No one's really working at sunrise, not pure sunrise, but we had foggy days there, which I like. But the first day we went, not quite what I wanted. That's the cool thing, again, for this project. It was my wife and my friend, who's also our drone pilot, and he's my assistant. He's also a photographer himself. He came with us. So we went there. We explored the tea fields, and I was like, this is cool, this little moment here. So I had all the workers sort of pass by. I got a very natural shot. And then I asked this woman to do a portrait of her. And I just didn't want to show her face because I wanted some of these images to really be, some of the images connect, they're about the face and the textures and the people, but some I just wanted their physical form. I loved her green outfit. I loved her conical hat. I loved her gardening tool there and her hoe. And I just kind of like took a nice portrait of her with all the mist in the background. And I was really happy with it. Again, all these shot with the Hasselblad X1D. I think at the time I only had a 45 millimeter lens, which is like the equivalent of like just about a 30 to 35 millimeter in full frame. So this image here, I later, because I had the below that I really liked, I connected it with this above shot here, which was similar timing. Again, I wanted that mist, I wanted that mood. So you see how these are going to work. Everything, again, is a diptyque. So instead of showing you 5 images today, I guess I'm going to show you 10. That was pretty good math on the spot there, huh? I was actually nervous for a second. I'm going to mess this math up. I've got plenty of images here, but I'm going to pick out some of my favorites. That was from Mukcho. I want to do different areas. This image here, I'm going to show you because it's also kind of a mistake and a regret at the same time. And I had someone ask me that, like, as a pro, can you show us like some of your mistakes? And I'm like, yeah, I don't like to, but I should, so people can learn. I am an educator too. So this image here, a little bit of a mistake here, but I like this image. And this image, I get like no. This is the kind of I get like no. Not that I do it for awards, but like most people don't like this image or gravitate towards this image. But I'm happy about it because I just think it's such a great moment, and it really says a lot about Vietnam. A lot of the women work their butts off in the field here, and they work hard and they play hard. So like they're working all day in the fields. I think this was like harvesting season, so the rice fields, they're working hard out there. Actually, no, it wasn't because it was already been harvested. But then they come back in their little village, and they're just playing volleyball just at sunset. And I just love the little moment, just a bunch of women playing volleyball by themselves, enjoy a bunch of farmers. They've got the sandals on, some of them are bare feet, and all like, middle to above middle-aged. And I just like the moment. I like the way the light was hitting their face. I like the way the sun was setting. A little bit more dramatic light would have been more interesting, sure, but I show you this because it's a little bit of regret. Anyone that knows me, anyone I've taught with always says like, oh, I'm always telling them like, don't have things grow out of you. You see right here where my mouse is, maybe not, maybe it's harder to see on your camera, but I mean on your screen, but see the woman in the pink above her, that pole coming out of her face, like, oh, I was giving my students so much crap for that, and there I am doing it. So do as I say, not as I do sort of thing. So there, that was a bummer for me, and that could have easily been fixed. I shot this pretty quickly. I was on the ground. The Hasselblad is very slow, and there's action going on. I mean, no autofocus. The new one I really hope has autofocus that works. Again, I'll do that full episode. And then there, too, in the background, this guy, like if I just moved a tiny bit over, I was on the ground. If I just moved a tiny bit over, I could have, oh man, Marlon just gave a nice donation to the channel. That's so nice, man. I think this is like the 3rd time that this guy's done that. So I really appreciate that, Marlon. Just gave a nice $50 donation to the channel. That's amazing. That's awesome. That stuff like that really like fires me up to do more. I mean, not that you do it for the money, but it's just nice. I put a lot of hard work into live streams, put a hard work into the videos, and want to teach you guys. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Marlon. So yeah, mistake. I'm sure. I guess I get paid when I show my mistakes. So it's so yeah, bad move, Justin. I should have been over to the right. I should have been just about 1 foot over or 1 meter over for you non-Americans and the rest of the world. That stick wouldn't have been coming out of Lady in Pink's head. That guy wouldn't have been growing out of the volleyball player there. So big mistake by me. Anyway, showing it. Not happy about it. I've grown since then. And here's the above shot. And this lady, too, is kind of funny. So we had a drone. The fields were really nice. I just wanted this, because she was by herself. Wasn't a ton of people working there. I like this shot for the above. I think sometimes I take the below first, but I usually take the above first because it's easier to match the below to the above than the other way around because it's hard, man. You never know what you're going to get with drones. A lot of time my drone stuff, it's pure luck. So here's the above. This lady, really funny. Before this shot, she didn't know what was going on with the drone, and my friend was kind of flying it kind of close to her, and she took her stick out and waved it at her. So our drone almost got taken out by this lady. You can see she's got the sickle here, but she had this like stick with her too, and she almost whacked us. And then she laughed later. I didn't, last thing I want to do when I'm out there shooting is bother anyone that's working their butt off. But she had a good laugh about it later. I think my friend was flying just a little bit too close, which I didn't encourage, but. He's kind of a silly one. So that, again, was shot in a similar area, a couple hours outside of Hanoi in that sort of Mai Cho area. I can't remember if it's Mai Cho or Mai Cho. They're two different places, but very close by. I'm going to scroll down because there's a couple other, we've got a few more to go here, but I want to go to this one just because there's a nice little story to tell here. So this image here, again, these are a little bit different than my normal shots. A little bit more work in post-processing for these. I'm not shooting these as like pure editorial style. I'm not like messing. I'm not Steve McCurry in it. I'm not taking things out, but I'm doing a little more retouching, a little more post-processing, pushing the midtones up, adding a little more clarity. I wanted these images to pop. I wanted these images to be in a more travel realm, but not within the perimeters of like a travel magazine. They're a lot more personal. So this is down in Phu Quoc, which is down south of Vietnam, close to the border of Vietnam and Cambodia. It's a big island, big resort island. And it was great. Again, went down there with my wife, went down there with our drone guy. We just drove. This area is quite known for, Phu Quoc is quite known for fish sauce, which is like pretty random, but Vietnam has all these places that are specifically known for these things. Fish sauce, which people that are into that, fine. I've photographed fish sauce factories, like modern ones and non-modern ones, and it grosses me out because the smell is just disgusting in my opinion, and I've had to spend like days in those places, and it was terrible. So famous for fish sauce, famous for their beautiful beaches, a lot of resorts, a very famous vacation spot, and also famous for pepper, which I'll show you some pepper stuff as well. So we're kind of looking for things that the areas are known for, the beaches, the ocean, but we stumbled upon this temple. You know, we did our research, we saw on the map, I'd heard about it before. I might have even been there before for another story, I can't remember, but we went there one morning, and again, this is kind of the idea of this project, and this is some advice I can give to you guys out there. I'd rather like go back and get a shot perfect and get one shot out of it than like waste some time and go there or just spend even a full day at a place and get like 20 shots that are average. Like I strive for greatness, or strive for like amazing shots rather than just like a bunch of average shots, which you all should do as well. So we went there one morning, and this monk was out by the rocks. It was right next to this pagoda, and you know, we talked to him a little bit and like, hey, do you always come out here? Because we kind of missed the light a little bit. We're out there at like 8 o'clock. And he's like, yeah, I do. And he's like, hey, we're going to be out here tomorrow. If you're around, can we just shoot you? We just asked him, like, naturally, don't do anything for us. If you're just going to be there, you know, what time, and we'll come by and just, you do your thing and we'll shoot you naturally. And he did, and it was great. So we came back the next morning. We had a beautiful sunrise. You can see it sort of peeking through those clouds in the background. And he was walking the rocks just like he did the day before. So again, this is the idea of that project, that we can come back. I wanted that nice moment of him on the rocks with the water splashing. I have a bunch of different variations of this. And then we took the drone up while he was just sitting there, you know, relaxing, looking at the view here. So we got this shot as well. A drone pilot. It was great. He was just like really chill about the whole thing. We told him, we don't want you to do anything, nothing set up. You just go about your day. We just hope we can follow you tomorrow, and don't be, hopefully, you know, while you're trying to meditate, don't be bothered by the flying drone above you. But it was quite loud with all the waves crashing, and he was pretty chill about it, and really, I mean, I guess a monk being pretty chill about something shouldn't be a surprise, but I was happy with that. So that's the below, and here is the above. I thought they worked out quite well. I'm going to take a break here, not a break leaving, but just see if you guys have any questions here. Yeah, so Linda asked, were these shots mostly impromptu scenes? Yeah, they were. You know, like I said about this, I went back and revisited to get it in perfect light. With the other shot, I knew I wanted that sort of misty look. The light wasn't that great. It didn't have that misty look that I wanted with the like morning fog rolling in the tea field, so we just went back. That's the thing. Our first day is usually kind of a wash. Our first day is usually driving around an area, going to some locations that, you know, maybe are relevant to that area, but some of the best shots just come from like not planning and just being up at 5 a.m. and being ready to shoot at 5:15, and something comes up, fly the drone, shoot, or, you know, of course the portraits are set up. I don't have a ton of portraits in this project, but I do have some. I will miss this camera. I will miss that X1D for this project because, again, those files are amazing, but I'm going to switch and probably use my Leica for the rest of this project. Or maybe I'll use my high megapixel Sony. I don't know yet. More on that coming soon. These are, I didn't want to talk about these, but you can see the fish sauce stuff here. This is a worker that works in a fish sauce factory. This is kind of me just driving around with my wife and saying, like, hey, can you ask those people if we can go in and photograph their fish sauce? And you're just like, what? You know, who's this for? Like, nah, just for me. This guy likes Vietnam, and that's kind of what we do. Drone shots a lot easier. No, you don't have to bother anyone, unless you get in trouble by the law. I'll go into Sapa because this was kind of a cool story for me. There's a few images here that I really dig. These are a little more moody. These are a little bit more me. I mean, they're all me. But this series here, Sapa, we went up to Sapa, which is in the northern part of Vietnam. It's a very tourist area. And we wanted to climb up to Phan Xipang. Well, climb up is really exaggeration. You kind of climb up some steps, but you can take a giant tram up there. So went up to Sapa. Sapa has this central area in it that is central town that all like the tourists go to, and there's a lot of ethnic minority people there that kind of come in and sell things to people, that handmade stuff, and they speak like 20 different languages, so they know how to sell to everyone. But it was a rainy season. It was winter time there, which I really love because it's one of the few spots of Vietnam that's actually cold. Like it's ridiculous that I live in Vietnam. I am horrible in the hot weather, and my mood, my energy, I just kind of will myself into it, and I'm so much better in cold weather. I'm really like, that's why my bio picture, I look like I'm like Scandinavian, even though I'm, you know, American with British and French roots. But I believe I like should be in like Norway. I'm meant for that kind of weather, and here I am living in a tropical climate and ridiculous humidity. I don't know why I'm talking so much about weather today. I just miss that cold weather. I can't wait to go. I'm going home for Christmas. I'm excited. So this shot here was done in the central, like the town square of Sapa. Again, it wasn't that busy because it was cold, it was rainy, but that's the great thing about going out in bad weather is you get interesting stuff. You get something different. Most people, when the weather's bad, the light's not good, you kind of just quit and go home to your room. But I dedicate my time for this project in between all my other shoots and my work. So I don't want to sit in my hotel room. I don't want to complain. I don't want to whinge about. I just went out and shot. And the fog was rolling in. The weather was tough. Even when we climbed Fence Up Mountain later, again, climbing's a stretch. When we went up to the top, it was pouring out. We had to wait. It was disgusting. I wanted a shot from above. Nothing worked out well there except the shots in the tram. But in the town center, which I didn't think I'd get anything from, we went out when it was rainy, had a plastic bag over my camera, had a big poncho on, buddy with an umbrella, or I think my wife was holding the umbrella, and we just looked for stuff. And this lady just came through with her bright pink umbrella, and she was the only one. You can see some people in the background there, and this was different for me. Most of the other shots are like more traditional travel shots, but this is kind of where I want to go with the project when the mood presents itself. So I like the mood. I felt it was relevant to Sapa, relevant to what you get there, which is just this sort of crazy weather. You never know what you're going to get. And then the above, I had a lot of different options here because we did fly the drone up. It always very misty here. You could see all of my shots there. It was misty the entire time. Were misty shots. So I chose this because it was just kind of a simple and similar framing. The idea here that these trees, losing my voice here, that these trees are about the sort of same size as her and the same sort of mood and same sort of atmosphere to Sapa. And this was actually not from a drone. I said everything was from a drone, but not true. These were some of the few that were from the actual tram going to the top. Some other ones that I thought were kind of interesting. This was just like waiting for this moment. The mist was coming in when he open this window that was all fogged up. I'm not like, as a vegetarian, like seeing all these gross innards of animals kind of freaks me out, but not freaks me out, but it's kind of gross to me. But it's so Sapa, it's so Hanoi, this like street food, these little vendors in train stations and bus stops and things like that. And this, my wife and my assistant were just eating, and I just waited. Like I wanted this perfect moment. He kept wanting me to do a portrait of him. He was a very sweet man, but I didn't want a portrait. I wanted something very natural. So they were eating. He kept wanting to feed me. I'm like, I don't eat any of this stuff, man. Sorry. So he was really polite. And they ate, and I stayed here for like an hour just waiting for the steam from his broth here to sort of like encompass him. And I waited I think it was like an hour just to get it exactly right. I just like things natural. Like, again, this wasn't shot on assignment. I could have set it up if I wanted to, but it's shot for me, and I never know where my work's going to end up. It did end up in National Geographic, and not this particular image. So I don't think this one ended up on the Hasselblad website because it was shot after that was published. But anyway, I just find that life is more beautiful, and you get more natural shots, obviously, when you let things happen on their own. You don't set things up. When you set things up, you're just recreating a shot you've seen before, a shot you've done before. So why not just wait it out? Why not wait for something special to happen? And something that you didn't think of to happen. So that's why I did it. Thank you, John. Said I really like those images. I appreciate it. I'm gonna stop for a second, see if there's any questions here. Yeah, William asked, hey JM. I like when people call you can call me JBM. I have a middle initial of B, which is Bradley. How many photography projects do you have going concurrently before you find that you're spread way too thin? That depends on where I'm at in my life, William. Early on, when I first moved here, I just liked to shoot. I liked a lot going on, and I didn't have a lot of work. So I had like 5 projects going when I lived in Cambodia. I lived in a cheap hotel. I lived in a hotel that was like, not a hotel, I should say. That's generous. I lived in a guest house that was $5 a night before I moved into an apartment that was $45 a month. That was, again, 2000, oh my God, I can't remember, 2006-ish. And my place was like disgusting. It was right next to like a karaoke / brothel place. So I heard some horrible things. It was cockroaches. So that hotel, that guest house forced me to not want to be. That's all I could afford, by the way. I wasn't like really trying to be like rough it out. That's all I could afford because I bought all my camera gear and I was in debt. And I was living in Cambodia trying to figure out how I was going to make it as a photographer. So at that time, though, I had no desire to ever be at that guest house. So I had stories in the day and I had stories in the night. I had like 3 or 4 projects going at the same time, and I would dabble in and out, and they were all very close in proximity, so it wasn't a big deal. Right now, I've got 2 serious projects going. I've got this, which is a more light project and easier for me to get to because it's in Vietnam. So we kind of try to piggyback off of other shoots. So let's say I've got a hotel shoot in central Vietnam, and I've been flown there. I might stay another few days because I've already been paid to go there, and it's the same team. My wife and our drone guy is also our and he's also our cinematographer and director as well. So he can come on and shoot me, film some BTS, and do the drone stuff. So right now I've got 2 projects going at the same time, and that's probably even a lot for me because I've got all my work in between my YouTube channel and running my business. So yeah, I think it's just different for different people. I would find like one project to be really focused on if it's a deep, meaningful story, like and budget-wise. That's my Kindred Guardians project. That's what I'm really focused on the next couple of years. Obviously, that took a big hit because of COVID, but I have a lot of things I want to go back to shoot. A lot of new stories popping up. I just need to get to it. I need to find the time. But this year I did. Again, I keep finding my way back to the northern white rhino. So I always said I would do different stories for each chapter of the project. But I filmed a documentary about the northern white rhinos. It's going to be a short documentary. I'm still kind of tweaking whether I'm going to go just music and text or if I'm going to do some narration or if I'm going to hire Morgan Freeman. Haven't decided yet. He hasn't decided yet, not because he doesn't know I exist or that the project exists. So anyway, it depends, William. I'd say it's a great question, but it kind of depends on budget, kind of depends on time. What I would say, if you're stretched on budget, stretched on time, find a project that's very close to your home and work on it. I know that's not always as exciting to most people, but that's kind of where you build the foundation, where you can actually, like, when you go out and do your mega project, you'll have that foundation and you'll learn a lot of skills and you make all those mistakes there. But there's also some of your best projects are close to home too, because you're familiar, you know the area, and you're more likely to go shoot. So that could be your mega project close to home. Great question. I'm gonna look some more questions here just because I want to answer your questions, guys. Marlon asked, again, I should read question because I know one of my friends one day is going to catch me on some question that I'm going to read live that's going to make me sound like an idiot. Oh, yeah, that's a good question, Marlon. He said, do you find that when you ask people if you follow them going about their day, they change their routine for you? Yeah, that's an excellent question, Marlon. I think that everything about them, when I ask people to shadow them, which I really highly recommend people do, start with friends and start with people or family, people that you know well, and then always ask them to. Don't just shadow people. That's weird. I had a creepy person say, like, oh, should I follow them with their permission? Like, yes, follow them with their permission. I don't want anyone getting arrested or anyone creeping anyone out. But yes, I will say that the more, let me say this. Some people might change a routine. I asked them not to change their routine. I asked them to go about their daily life exactly how they would. But of course, people are just it's going to be weird, man. It's going to be weird the first day. It's going to be less weird the second day, slightly less weird after that. And over time, it's just going to be like you're not there, kind of, and that's what I strive for. So when I went and did my story about the lady that rescues sloths in Suriname, I gave myself time to get to know her, and I had the camera out because I just never knew when sloths were gonna. I mean, not that they're gonna surprise you. It's a slow attack with sloths, but I never knew when something was gonna come up, and I didn't want to miss an opportunity. So I always have my camera ready, but I'm not like sticking it right in their face. But I'll say this: anyone that I followed, each day gets a little bit easier. Each day gets a little more natural. And then I also just say up front, don't do anything special for me. Just go about your day. And I do research. I ask them what they do about their day before I make a decision on who to follow, because that's important too. I mean, again, in my project, Kindred Guardians, I'm following someone that takes care of animals, or they do a lot of wonderful things for animals, but they work in an office. That's not going to do much for me. It's great what they do, but it's not great for photos. Or I plan the time they're not in the office and out in the field, and I'm just very strategic and very particular, and very much ask what is a day in the life like, and then I can kind of make some mental calculations, visual mental calculations about if it's going to work out or not, how many days I need. So yeah, first day, tough, just awkwardness, people change, people aren't going to open, you're not necessarily going to get the shot of them just before they go to bed or waking up in the morning, or if something really goes wrong or conflict. So the natural moments, they're just going to present themselves the more time you put in. That's why you see the best personal projects people have invested in spending months, if not years, with their subjects. Great question, Marlon. Let's see. Linda's question, does changing cameras for a project make a big difference in the final overall look for the complete story, or does it matter if you're cropping at the same size and use the same post-processing? Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a luxury for people like me. I've been doing this for a long time. I have some affiliations with camera companies. Sometimes I can borrow stuff. Sometimes I can test stuff. And when I budget for camera stuff for personal projects, there's a related to my business, so I can justify the cost. Now, I will say this: if you're going to print your images, a project like this where I have aspirations to print big for the below shots with the Hasselblad, then yeah, I think it will make a difference. I'll say when I shot, I actually went to shoot the Northern White Rhinos the first time. I've been there 3 times. The first time I visited, I I have my Leica M10D, which is my go-to documentary camera, my go-to camera for that project. Again, I like cameras that kind of force me into good habits, and the Leica does, and same with the Hasselblad. It really forced me to slow down, which is something I have a problem with speaking and working. I'm just fast, and which is good in some ways too, because I can work fast when I have to, and I've like my team is like amazed by that sometimes. Pat myself in the back here, but clients can be like, whoa. I'm kind of lost myself here, being so proud of myself, but it's not always great because I don't plan things always on my shoots, and I'm like, oh no, now I want that light set up there. My team hates me and clients hate me, but in the end, I think I get good results. But I digress. So yes, I will say, so when I shot for that project, I needed a backup camera, and I didn't want to take my Canon kit, so I took the Hasselblad just for some big prints. My M10D was my main camera. But later on, I had an exhibition of that work, and the printer was like, whoa, why is some of these images just like incredibly detailed? And I'm like, oh, those are like 4 shots I took with a Hasselblad, because I was still learning the M10D, so I wasn't as confident with the autofocus, so I would take everything twice, and those files were just so amazing. So yeah, it did make a difference. Not saying the M10D didn't print really well, it still did. It was just like noticeably better when you printed like giant prints, and I did for that exhibition. Through my gallery in New York, and they sell fine art prints of some of my work there. So yeah, if you were really in that game of doing like fine art, huge prints, then yes, like it will make a difference. As far as medium format to a regular full frame camera, I honestly think 99% of people aren't gonna notice the difference. I barely notice most of the time because I'm not printing my work that big. And as far as like a mid-level price camera to a low level, if you need the features, go for it. If not, just the camera that you can afford, the camera that you're gonna have with you. I know it's cliche advices, but that's honestly the best option. I just like the Leica because I like having it on me. I like the design, I like the way it feels, and I'm with that camera so much that stuff matters to me. Marlon asked another question. When your shots end up in National Geographic or on the Hasselblad website, do you get compensated or just photo credit? Another great question from the business side of things. Okay, so this is the way it works most of the time, not all of the time, but here's a couple good examples, but great question. So question again is like, do I get compensated for my images when I did a story, it was an assignment, and they get published in a magazine like National Geographic, or if they get published on a camera company's website? So here's a couple different examples. So for this image, so this story here, I think they published a certain amount of images. They gave me a flat fee for National Geographic. It was not that favorable, I think, for a lot of images. Didn't cover my cost for like a day of shooting probably with the whole team and gas and all that. So yeah, not that much. Like if they publish stuff that's already been shot, a lot of magazines will pay you a flat rate of like $500 or like $800. And then after like bank fees and all that, answering their questions, sending the files, it's not always like, no, it's not worth it, but it's not great compensation. And then companies like Hasselblad that do like a blog about you and then use your images, you kind of get raked over the coals there as well. They gave me nothing for it, and you get your name on there. But, I was trying to build a relationship with Hasselblad and still holding out that they're going to give me that X2D. No, I'm not. I don't have much of a relationship with them anymore, but I was trying, just because the person that was there left and nothing bad happened or anything, but I was trying to build a relationship with them, and, having them get the story out was important to me. So that was nice for me. I don't often like giving my images away for free. Now, in a different regard, like my image that I shot for this image here that I shot with the Northern White Rhinos, Leica bought this for a global ad campaign, and that was different. So an ad agency sourced the images, licensed the images for me, and these are great questions, you guys, by the way. And this is why I do these. So this image here that's been in a Leica ad campaign, I've been compensated well for this, thousands of dollars each time this image has been published. So it's helped me really break even on some of the trips that I've gone there. So that doesn't always happen. That's not always why I do it. I never think it's gonna happen. That was definitely a rarity, people buying your images for a commercial ad campaign, but that was cool. And they're posted on posters and not billboards, but giant posters, and used all around the world, and they license it per year. So they give you a fee, and they pay you based on the region, and most photographers have like a general budget for that region, depending on if, billboard use, regional use, or global use, and whether it's gonna be print or digital or both. You kind of make a price based on that. They present an option to me because they were dealing with like 30 photographers for that project, and so they had a basic cost. You can negotiate, sure, but it usually doesn't do you any favors because a lot of times they don't love negotiating with you. So, thank you, Molly. Way too generous. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Let me see if there's any other questions. I'll go through. Let me go through some of the other images here. So this here was, let's see. I did Sapa. I did that. I wanted to do this one too. I think that'll be another set here. I mean, this image was cool to me because this guy, I got this. Let me start with the below. I mean, the above. This is up in Ha Giang, and again in the north of Vietnam. Not same area, Sapa, different area. Well, not so far away, but close to the border of China. And it's one of my favorite places to go. If you ever come to Vietnam, go up to Ha Giang. It's like Sapa without tourists. It's like untouristy Sapa. Sapa's still beautiful and has its little hidden gems, but you have to know where to go. Ha Giang is like purely raw, purely uncut, and one of the most beautiful places. Has some of the most beautiful roads and picturesque roads and photogenic roads in areas of all of Vietnam. I like to go up in the wintertime, but it can get a little bit cold. But they're known for their windy roads. A great place to take a motorcycle trip. You can rent a motorbike up there, a small one or a big one. I've rented different size bikes up there and gone on these little motorbike trips with friends, and it's like always amazing. Always love it. Can be a little sketchy sometimes with those roads, with trucks coming through, but it's known for their windy roads, known for the beautiful landscapes. So I got this above, and then we were just kind of wandering around in villages, and I saw this guy with his daughter, and I just found it was so cute with her little like little kid with like a little hat on, and he was a farmer. He was taking some of these. I think these are some sort of herbs. He was taking these and driving up that road. So it really was like a very literal connection. Again, with this project, some of them are very literal, some of them are not. I'm connecting, sometimes I'm connecting shapes and forms and things like that. But this was a very, hello from Buffalo. Awesome. All these people in these cold weather climates. Hello from Buffalo, though. I'm a New England Patriots fan, so I'm not rooting for Buffalo. I think they're playing no, they're not. Are they playing tonight? Anyway, don't tell me the score because I'm going to watch that game after this. Football's back. I'm excited about that. So this image here, I just took this quick. It wasn't even really like a portrait. It was just my wife was talking to the guy, and I just took a shot. Nothing was set up here. He was on his bike. He was about to travel up that road, so you can see the connection here. These little snippets of daily life, that's what I'm looking for. These little, and then little backstories, talking to him. I have a little caption about him and his daughter heading up. They travel like a few kilometers every day down to this field, do their farming, take it back to the village, and sell it. So, and I thought that was a nice little combination there. Let me go back. These two. I'll do one more here, guys, before I get going. Anyway, also, guys, ask me any questions. Try to keep it somewhat related. But you can go off topic a little bit if you want, I don't mind. As long as it's photography related. As you can see, I'll scroll down. This is just where I'm at with the project. I have so much more to shoot. I still haven't shot in Ho Chi Minh City. I still haven't shot in the Mekong Delta. Central Vietnam, there's so much to shoot there. I've sort of dabbled in these areas, but not really. I've shot them a lot for other projects. But again, this project is about me revisiting these areas. I'll do this one because this was interesting to me. Like I sell this print a lot, which is funny. I never thought I would. This was a pepper mill. People don't know what this is. So this is not a pepper mill. This is a pepper plantation, which again is in Phu Quoc. Phu Quoc's famous for their pepper. And so what they do is we just kind of roll up. That's how our project works. And I just kind of play the curious foreigner. And my wife pretends that she's like my translator and just kind of is like, oh, I mean, sometimes she not pretends my wife is my wife, but sometimes she just kind of pretends she's my translator. People assume. She gets annoyed by that because people just assume she's my translator, but she does translate for me. I know I've lived here for so long and I don't speak fluent Vietnamese. That's terrible, but I'm horrible at it, and I actually have no excuse, so sorry. But it gets me out of a lot of stuff. So we went up to this pepper plantation. Now, they're interesting from above a little bit because the trees are all kind of like bouncing around. But I found this really interesting when I went in the back. Always like going around in other little ways and asking questions and exploring a little bit and talking to people before you just like whip your camera out and force yourself up on them is always very helpful. So, they were spreading it out and letting the pepper dry in the heat. And so I was like, oh, these tarps are really cool from below, but like, what would they look like from above? So we asked them, can we fly our drone? They were cool about it. Some of these situations, like, I don't like to give money for these things, especially if I'm doing an assignment, I can't. Like, it's ethically wrong to pay for access. Sorry, I've got like coffee indigestion here. And so we don't, but I was like, if, this situation, if I could like give them some photos afterwards, cool. I mean, not that they want these drone photos of this, but maybe some do. But, the lady's very nice. We bought some pepper from her afterwards. We needed it anyway. So I got the shot. The farmer's working. We just said, just do your thing, spread it out like you were. And midday, it worked nice. This is the kind of stuff like midday, hey, you can shoot drone stuff at midday. This project really lends itself to shooting in bad light as well. It's midday, that sun's going directly down below you, creates some interesting shadows. Lights everything quite evenly, so midday drone, highly recommend. And the below shot, I went, again, very literal here, but I just love the way his hands are moving. It almost looks like these little like patterns in there, almost look like, I wanted to connect this with like river veins or even his hand veins, so I kind of connected his own hand with the shot. I like the way that it kind of reminded me, by the way, here's my new tattoo. These are Fatu and Najin's rhino horns. Some of you that have followed me for a bit know too much about this, but The tattoo is finally healing. I can almost go for a swim in like another 5 days, which I miss. But yeah, so that's the connection there. Very literal, but I thought it worked quite well. Just the connection there with his hands and the tight shot of what you see there. You still don't necessarily know it's pepper, but this is the photo I get asked about the most, this one. And I do sell quite a bit of prints of this, which I never thought I would. Is like, what is that? What are they doing there? And anyway, people like that shot. Maybe I'll do one more. If there's any more questions, you guys can ask them here. Oh, yeah, Marlon asked, do you have a manager that sells your images, or do you sell all the or do you do all the process yourself? So, okay, for me, for selling my images, I work through a gallery for my edition stuff because it's hard to sell edition prints yourself. You really have to have the right connections. Also, I live in Vietnam, so it's really hard. You know, it's just hard. There's not a big market here for buying prints. It's not like intellectual property in Vietnam is a whole other discussion. People just think they can take your images and print them or take them and use them for their hotel. And they can't, but they do, and it's a hassle. So that's what I deal with here. So selling prints here is hard, and then shipping outside of Vietnam is a nightmare. So I use for the gallery in New York is called Anastasia Gallery. They represent a lot of photojournalists. They came to me. They have a great roster of photographers, but I don't sell a lot of limited edition prints to them. It's hard. You're talking thousands instead of hundreds of dollars. So, you know, it depends on how you value your work and how you see it, and it really depends on the market, really. But I always want my archive working for me, so I sell images through my website. But I don't know. Actually, that would be a little homework for you guys, because I just switched to my website now, selling prints through it using an automated system that can only ship in the US and Canada, but it's a whole automated system. They offer frame prints. They offer stuff on acrylic backdrops and wooden blocks and metal and things like that, but it's all integrated with Squarespace. If you guys could go take a look, I'm giving you guys homework. You're coming to me for help. I want your help. Go to my print store, go to justinmott.com, go to my online store, then go to the print store. Let me know if you see any concerns there and why, because I've had in the last month I had 700 visitors on the print store and only like a few purchases. So I'm like, what did I do? What am I doing wrong there? Is it hard for them to purchase? You can buy everything online. You can pay on credit card. They have these like built-in, I'm like going off on a tangent here, but I think this is helpful, so I'll talk about it. But they have these like built-in like pictures that are already set. They're not that great. They just like overlay your picture on like what looks like a wooden backdrop. So, and then all the sizes that don't fit my aspect ratio, I don't include those, but you can't remove them, so it just says not available. So I could see that as being a slight problem. But I'd love some feedback on that, because like I'm not buying prints often, but I wanted to sell frame prints, and this company offered that, and I wanted something more integrated, and I want to stick to the US because it was getting so hard to like source different print shops in different countries. I did have something for Europe, but anyways, I'm testing this and seeing how it goes. Most of my market is US and Canada, so I thought I'd try that out, but I'm missing out on sales in Europe, especially Germany and England. I seem to get a lot of people interested in buying my prints there. So I don't know. And Australia as well. I do a little bit, but I'm not doing that right now. Check out my print store. So that's how I do it. I work through a gallery, and then I use an automated system called PrintTech, which is through a company called Adorama out of New York, and everything is listed in there. Everything is automated for me to do. I just have to click approve. So Fred does sell through PrintTech and their automated system. Yeah, I'd like to hear how it works for you, Fred. I've only been using it for a few weeks. I was using it for all my manual printing in the U.S., and it was going pretty well. Never any complaints about the quality of prints, and never any problems with shipping. But yeah, it's kind of tough. I feel like I'm missing out on sales in the European market right now, and I really don't understand why so many people are going to the print store. Maybe it's because more photographers are looking at how I do it, and they're not buying my prints. They were trying to sell their own. Maybe that's it, because I just did a bunch of episodes. But it was a little bit of an alarm bell for me, like, why did so many people go to my store and no one bought anything? Also, on that note, guys, I just launched a new preset, my new like street photography grit preset. Again, these presets, like, I'm never claiming these are gonna like be the end all or make your photos better, but I think they'll add a little bit of pop, and they all have a little different mood to them. So if you like gritty street photography, high contrast stuff, I did a tweak on my black and white preset there. It's for Lightroom only. You can check that out. It's like $5 on my website, $4.99 at justinmott.com. But try not to plug a lot of stuff on here, guys, because I want to answer your questions, spend time doing that. Bastion, I love the name Bastion. Bastion asks, what's your favorite time of the day to shoot light? Easily golden hour. You know, I mean, I hate when people say golden hour. Usually like magic hour. Oh, I hate when people say magic hour. The first hour of the day is my favorite time. I like going from dark to bright. I feel alive when I see that. You know, when I see the sun come up, when I don't know what's going to happen, I love that. Like, I like when it's a little bit dark. So if the sun is going to rise here in Vietnam and Hanoi at 5:30, I want to be ready to shoot at 5. Because I want to see the sun come up. There's different stuff happening. People's days are getting started. There's a different energy to the world. And in Vietnam, there's a lot of energy, man. If I was up at 5:30 a.m. in like where my mom lives in Warwick, Rhode Island, I wouldn't see anything. But here, it's like you see stuff at 5. You see people are up early, active, exercising, transporting stuff, open up their little stalls. It's fascinating. Vietnam is like just a fantastic country to shoot in, but I'd say best country to shoot in for 5 a.m. So I like a little bit, like 30 minutes before the sun rises up. If I'm shooting commercially, like an hour ready because shit's going to go wrong. I need to move stuff. This is going to happen. Models are going to be late. Someone has to use the bathroom, all that stuff. So up and ready to go. Let's see. Linda asked, it seems to be important to know how to do video or drone photography for documentary work. I see it so much as now part of a story. Your thoughts? Yeah, I've very much incorporated drone photography. I started with my commercial photography. That's what got me interested in it. I was like, wow, clients love this. And back then I had to use this was like a long time ago. When I first started with drones, I think it was like, it was like when they were first, like DJI's like first ever Phantom. But we had my friend, our drone guy now, he had built his own drone. We put like a proper digital SLR camera on. I think it was like $15,000 and it was really stressful using it. But he didn't work for us at the time. We subcontracted his work, so it was like built into the cost, but it didn't stress me out as much as it did after that. Because it was like a stretch for drones where like they crashed a lot. And now I feel like they never crash, knock on wood. But when we crashed an $8,000 Inspire 2 or something like that because it wasn't the pilot's fault. It was actually another team was droning at the same time as us. We had permission, they didn't, and the Indonesian government. We were close enough to the airport, but we had permission to shoot at this hotel. We think that they just basically like knocked our drone out of the sky because we asked for one, and there was another team shooting there, and long story, but $8,000 drone crashed, subcontractor, but we helped them out afterwards. I felt really bad about that, so we kind of chipped in for that. But yeah. Anyway, drones, I think, to answer your question, very important part of storytelling, opens up so many different possibilities. Commercial work, fantastic. Editorial work, amazing. Like even when I go and shoot the northern white rhinos, I've been taking my drone with me. I have permission to shoot there. Tough with permission, laws are changing, rules are changing. Sometimes it gets easier with the smaller ones. I would recommend going like the smallest one you can use in different countries and checking out each country's laws before you actually go there and shoot. This is one of my more famous shots, like for this project that I shot with a drone. So now we're going to upgrade to a better stills drone. Again, because I'm doing some work with DJI, I'm going to do a little trade with them, a little barter, something I don't normally like to do, but I like to do it for this kind of stuff. So I'm going to get a better drone, take my drone out for some of my personal project work. So every one of my stories with Kindred Guardians, if the country allows, I take my drone. Scary thing about drones is, though, man, some countries, well, I'm calling you guys man, is like they'll take your drone right at the airport. So hide it, put it like, don't carry a giant Pelican case. Don't make it look like a drone. The best you can do to make it not look like a drone, the better. Some countries they'll just snag that stuff, man. Indonesia's bad at that. Vietnam's gotten better. We used to have to like pay a fee every time we came to the airport, even with our drone here that we bought here because they weren't legal for a long time. I haven't had to deal with that in a long time, so that's been fine. Let's see. Any other questions here, guys? I'm gonna wind down here. Yeah, so that's the thing. So Brian asked, the quality of those drone shots seem to match the Hasselblad shots. Yes, they do look like that on my screen, and that's why I think it's an important thing to say. Like, if your photography be honest with yourself. If it's only going to end up on a screen, I've got a giant 30-inch screen here, two 30 or 32-inch screens. I should know this stuff. Here as my desktop, my iMac, and then my secondary screen. And by the way, if any of you, I don't know why it took me so long. I just got into using a second screen. It's like game changer for productivity and editing and everything. I've got all sorts of stuff going on over here, and I can work here and edit, and I can watch videos and learn stuff at the same time. Second screen, I don't know what the hell took me so long to do it, but I've been doing it. Absolutely love it. So yes, if you're just going to be viewing things on your screen, not a big deal to have those extra megapixels. Like, that drone was an old school drone, man. That was shot from a long time ago, and the files on my screen look almost exactly the same compared to that $9,000 Hasselblad. Well, it was $9,000 when I bought it, and $4,000 lenses compared to like a $1,000 drone. So yeah, I mean, unless you're printing, when you do print, you can definitely see the difference. But I've printed those drone shots, like, let's see, I printed them about 16 by 24-ish, and they still look pretty good. Not as good as a Hasselblad. So if you have a real eye for detail and you're printing big, fine. But if you have an eye for detail and you're just going to use them on the web, not a big deal. You don't need that fancy camera. Buy a camera that's like built better and more likely to take with you, and invest in lenses. That's always my advice. So that's the story, guys. I'm going to end there. If there's any last questions, you can ask them now. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. So you guys know, for that, you that are tuning in, if you're a member already, then you can ignore me. If you're not a member, I do have a weekly live stream for members only that happens usually Monday morning U.S. time, Sunday night Eastern Standard Time, or sometimes I do that on Tuesday. So Monday night U.S. time, Tuesday morning Vietnam time. But there's also a bunch of other benefits. For $4.99 a month, become a member. You get exclusive access to my membership-only weekly live streams. You can be part of my monthly photography contest. Again, for members only, you get priority in the comments section. So your questions are answered first. Access to that monthly contest, it's free. Again, it's only open to members. I have a weekly theme. It's meant to challenge you. We'll do a review, talk about them. I also have BTS content and early releases of some of my videos. So this weekend, I've got a couple videos coming out. Next week, I've got a video about a bag that's made out of banana fibers. Nothing related to photography at all, but it's a really cool bag from a really cool company. And I dig bags, so I'm going to talk about it Sunday, my sort of weekly big video launch. That is going to be my motivational video, sort of kicking all your butts about how you can get better, why you're not doing as good as you should be in your photography career. Yeah, it's me kind of being a jerk. It's not what you're used to. I'm usually kind of a nice guy to you guys. But Sunday I'm going to be mean. So if you want your butt kicked, then Sunday morning Vietnam time. Sorry, I've changed that now to Sunday morning Vietnam time. So it's Saturday night U.S. time. And then I've got my Hasselblad like in-depth review coming out. I've never got my hands on it, but again, I've used that system more than like anyone out there, I think. Like 99% of people. Maybe more than 100% of people. I think I've used it more than anyone. 6 years, all different work, commercial, editorial, personal. Anyway, that's it. That's my project. If you want to see the full entire project or learn more about it, I do have a little documentary. I have some behind the scenes. You have to dig in a little bit there, but if you go into my YouTube channel, I've got some behind the scenes about this project itself, sorry, I didn't put it up. I should put my big face up here. I've got a full behind the scenes series about these images and how I got them. So you can check that out on my YouTube channel. If you just go under, I think it's my vlog section. I put them under my vlog section. I've got 3 episodes and then an introduction to the project. It goes into more depth about the meaning of the project, and you can see me actually getting the shots. You can see my assistant, see the drone up in action. You can see my wife and see what she has to put up with. So that's it for today, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget, for you interested in online learning, I have all of my one-on-one classes, especially my mentorship program. That's a big one. It's expensive, but it's really in-depth. It'll kick your butt for an entire month. It's 5 classes, 6 sessions, 6 one-hour sessions, full access to me via WhatsApp, and then I also have, what else do I have on there? And I also give you weekly assignments for people that really want help with their personal project or their portfolio or just guidance in their photography business. You can check that out all at justinmott.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to go watch football. Much love to all of you guys. See you again next week. Bye.